So recovering the way is mixing of a few different paradigms. We've discussed that before. It is the mixing of Qigong, or actually I can really say the paradigm of Oriental medicine. And we use Qigong. And Qigong, I don't know if anyone knows this, but Qigong is the oldest form of Chinese medicine. Actually, Chinese medicine came from Qigong, and Qigong probably came from shamanic roots. And Qi is, that's one of those words that can be like described so many different ways. But Qi can be energy, it can be the motivating force of life, it can be movement, it can be what we would call the functionality, the movement of blood, the movement in the human. And Qi is by nature yang. There's a saying in Oriental medicine that blood follows Qi. So blood is yin, blood is the body, blood is that which actually is our corpus, it's our muscles, it's our tissue, and Qi is the motivating, energetic portion. But there's an interesting saying that says blood follows Qi, and Qi follows intention, Yi. So what we're using here principally is our intention. What we're using is the mind, and we're using the cognating, everyday mind that we normally have. Okay? This is not a process where we're going to say, we're going to turn off our thinking mind. This is a place where, I got to learn how to stop thinking, I have to learn how to still my thoughts, and if I can't do it, there's something wrong with me. Thankfully, this is not the case. There is something that we do in Qigong, and I'm going to take the moment, because I didn't do this before, to mute. Cool. So what we do is that we use the thinking mind. We use the thinking mind to actually notice what's going on in the body. So what we do in Qigong, and we've done this many times before, what we start to do is take an inventory, take notice of the stock in trade. And in recovery, there's something known as taking an inventory, and that's a moral inventory. That's an examination of our conduct, and we get into that later. But right now, what we're going to engage in is a fact-finding mission, okay? And there's not going to be a lot of movement here in the beginning, at least on the outside, but on the inside there will be. So what I want us to do is take a moment and do that little practice of letting go the remnants of anything that we might have in our hands. So this means actually letting the hands down, okay? Letting them down by the sides. And imagine that you're just putting down the remnants of anything in the week. And I'll tell you what the phone, like in the morning, even now, so many times the first thing I do is I pick up the phone. So let's put that down. What else? The doorknob, the shower, the car handle, and not just the hands. I want you to check in with the shoulders. Check in with your shoulders, see if they're hiked up. See if are they inching up toward the shoulder? And if they are, what can we do to make an adjustment? Check in with the feet. And just on a very gross level, are the toes moving? And if they are, what can we do just now for this moment to quiet them? So no accelerator pedal, no next step. And everyone has heard the verse of the Tao Te Ching that says, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. Everyone's heard that, right? And actually, I read about 7 or 8 verses of the Tao Te Ching, and I read it as the journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step, but that's not the literal translation. The literal translation is more like the journey of 1,000 miles starts under one's feet. And there's a universe of difference between the first step and under one's feet. So right here, right now, tune in. And this is not a mystic practice. This is just very, very intentional in fact-finding. What can we do to relax the tailbone? Check in with the brow, the neck. So it doesn't make great video because we're not moving, but if we take a moment and just check inside, we're going to start to see that we are moving. Creep it up a little bit, up the palms, into the wrists, into the forearms. The muscles that actually contract the hand are in the forearm. The back of the forearm, that is the outside, is yang, and the yin channels, lung channel, heart channel, pericardium channel, are on the medial side. So take another minute or two and notice, for example, when I do this, I notice I'm swaying. I wind up moving. And there's several things that are going on when we're moving. We're under influence of what is called heaven and earth. We're influenced by the movement of the earth, the movement of the planet, movement of the stars. And the way that blood is actually returned back to the heart is by rhythmic, slow contraction of our musculature. So when we find ourselves, for example, swaying from side to side, we're actually propulsing blood back up the legs toward the heart. The act of breathing itself propels blood. And the deeper that we breathe, the more intentionally that we breathe, the better our circulation becomes. So right now, this is not into the mystic practice. This is just very practical. Let's make a little bird's beak with our hand. And when I say a bird's beak, I'm just going to do this to show you. You don't have to follow me. A bird's beak is, we'll take our 2 fingers or 3 fingers and put them together with the thumb opposing it. Okay? And this is very symbolic in Qigong and in Tai Chi of a pull. Okay? Of a pull. A pull begins with a push. We have to have somewhere to go. So make a little bird's beak with each hand. And the palms are facing forward. And what we're going to do is we're going to pull up as if we're pulling from the ground. Pull up to about mid-chest. And then we're going to open the palm and we're going to push. Push down. And the hands, now they're not going to turn around, they're going to stay in the same attitude. We're going to make that pull again, and we're going to pull up. So the action is a pull, converting to a push. So in order to push, we have to have pulled first. In order to pull, we have to push. Now this is one of those combinations of opposites that exist in Taoism, exist in the universe. Pull, push. And I'll even come a little closer so you can see what I'm doing. So we make the little bird's beak, pull up, pull, and push. Now, the art, the noticing, what comes in here is the noticing of when does a pull convert to a push. Okay? So that is called a transition. And in Tai Chi, one of the most important things is finding the space of that transition. Pull, push. I've heard it said, very, very simple one, that a blade of grass will only grow as much as a blade of grass is going to grow in one day. And I want things done, right now, all the time. But that's not the way of nature. And imagine here we're coaxing just a little bit, coaxing a little bit of growth in some blade of grass. And then we're going to push down. For example, so many of us now, chronic anxiety and fear, right, is here. What can I do to raise my level of calmness? What can I do to make that appear a little bit? And then to push down. There's that saying in the King Kong movies, whole world will be destroyed, whole town will be destroyed, right? And I can get into that. Our country is going through one of the largest, most enormous, ginormous convolutions, uncharted territories that, regardless of, which side one is on, we can say that we are in a very, very fearful, right? A very fearful, uncharted time. So as if I could pull up a little bit of innate security, innate saying, I'm okay right here in this space right now, and to retire just for a moment some excess fear. So fear in Oriental medicine actually has a relationship to wisdom. They both relate to what is called the kidney channel. So knowing that I am okay right here, right now in my own space, that I don't have to get over alarmed. And the old name for Qigong is actually Dao Yin, which means guiding and leading. Guiding and leading. And what we're doing is we're guiding and leading. So noticing the interchange between up and down, noticing the interchange between in and out, and noticing where one converts to the other. There is a very, very high degree of subjectivity here. There is a very, very high degree of noticing. Now, subjectivity is great for art, but it is kind of dismissed by the scientific community at large, by large. I'm not saying it's a hard, fast rule, but the scientific world exists with the idea that there is an objective standard. And I'm here to tell you that in Qigong, the subjective observer is of paramount importance. So notice the noticer. Okay? What I want you to do is notice who is noticing, what is noticing, what are the sensations that are going on here in the body. Is there some sort of a sensation, for example, that we're actually pulling something? Does it feel like we're pulling something? And then does it feel as if we're pushing? So the combination of opposites being a greater whole is very much the essence of Taoism, and it actually cleaves very well in a way to the paradigm of recovery, and also in ways to the scientific method. We're going to turn our hands now with the palms facing forward, and we've done this move before, so this is another little variation where the palms come up, turning over and coming down. So as we're doing this now, let's multitask a little bit. And the multitasking is, let's not only relax the fingers, imagine you could relax 1 inch right beyond the ends of your fingers. You know, like the old, you are getting sleepy, like the hypnotist. Imagine you could relax 1 inch right beyond the ends of your toes. One inch above the top of your head. And under your feet and behind you. So using the intention, using our imagination, we're turning on parts of us that are always there, always exist, but we need to stop thinking about other things and get a guiding and leading into the interior landscape. Now, in Western terminology, we would say that we are enhancing our interoception. Interiorception. Capacity to notice, capacity to feel. The interoception is always there. We're just now accentuating it, we're turning up its volume. There's something else called proprioception. Okay, and proprioception is our sense of where we are in space, where we are in terms of gravity, where we are in terms of temperature of the room, where we are in the feeling of our clothing on our body, where we are when we inhale. So this is proprioception, okay? And then interoception is the interior sensation. And what is germane to all of this, in that, you know, the Tai Chi map of the yin and yang, you know, and interplaying like a lava lamp. Okay, what is the primary importance here is that which is hidden in plain sight. And what is hidden in plain sight is the observer. So the up, down, proprioception, interoception does not exist for us without the observer. So we are now spending some time in what I call the temple. This is the temple of the observer. And when we enter a temple, you ever go into a big temple and you can feel some sort of presence, you can feel some sort of, you know, energy there, that there's something there. Well, we each have our own temple. And I want you to welcome yourself to your own temple. Now, very often, we just can't wait to get out of our body. We just can't wait. We can't spend the time with ourselves. We're not taught to do that. This is as much of a bona fide meditation as any sitting meditation. What is the aim? To slow the thought process down, to notice that there is a greater reality, and to harmonize ourselves with the forces of the universe. And this very simple movement, which I call just moving, shares with us the combination of up and down, the combination of push and pull. So, why do this? Well, how many times do we say to ourselves, I'm scattered, I'm all over the place, I don't know where I am, I can't even, I'm not connected. So these practices really help us. We've flown kites as kids, probably not for a long time. Some of us have flown a kite when we're kids. And I remember, I was about 5 or 6 years old, that I went down to the Twin Lakes in New Rochelle with my mom in front of the high school, and we had 2 spools of string. And we were flying the kite, and when one string got to the end, we were going to tie, they were wound around Lincoln logs. I was a little kid, and we got to the end of one string, and my mom said, okay, we're going to tie the other one on, and I let go of the string to grab the other one, and of course the kite just flew off. And my first inclination then, I remember it as if it was yesterday, my first inclination when the kite flew away was to run after it. Right? Is to run after the kite. A kite is only a kite because it's rooted into the ground through us. Okay? One of the combinations of opposites, then, is rooted and flight. And we're going to emulate that, and we're going to pull ourselves back down. And what I want you to do is bring one hand up over your head, kind of open, and then we're going to grasp as if we're going to pull a string. And pull down. And then the other one's going to come up. And we're going to pull and drop your tail, root yourself, and we're going to reel the head of that kite in. And that's our aberrant self, the one that's all over the place, scattered. And we're going to pull down. And notice, what does it feel like as we're doing this? Notice. Does it feel, maybe it does and maybe it doesn't, but it's working anyway. Does it feel like we're reeling something in? Does it feel like we're grounding ourselves? And we're going to do this now, but keep the palm open and let it pass by the head and neck and chest and down to the belly. And then do it again, head. And we're going to entreat ourselves to draw the energy down from our own head down to the solar plexus. In Qigong, there are 3 what are called dantian, energy elixir fields. That there is one in the head, which is called the shen, and then there is the heart, the shin, and then there is the lower dantian. And that is the root. And bringing our attention here, and the intention is to ground ourselves, the intention is to root ourselves. I'm in recovery now for 21 years. I actually had a third of my stomach removed in 1998 from hundreds of pills a week and multiple bottles of bourbon, and that didn't stop me. I went 7 or 8 months longer. I stopped in 1999. And I got to tell you, all I ever really wanted out of alcohol and drugs was a few minutes of peace. All I ever really wanted was to have the chatter stop, the noise stop. And Western medicine, when people are highly addicted, they go, you know what? We don't have an answer for you. You need to go into 12-step because we can't deal with matters of the spirit effectively. We don't have the tools in the objective scientific process to help you solve what it is that illness that you have. And Qigong very natively and matter-of-factly talks about manners of the spirit. And it's a wonderful handmaiden and an introduction that the two methods work so well together because they both deal practically with spirit, mind, body. So we're going to do this now a few more times. And instead of being at the top of the head, we're now going to go to the third eye and come down. And then to the cleft of the palate. The larynx. The center of the sternum. What is called the xiphoid process, that little fleshy tab at the bottom of the sternum. And now they're just going to kind of go over each other a little bit above the navel. And as we do this, let's do a little multitasking. Let the tail drop on the ground. Let the head rise as if it is in salt water or a helium balloon. And now the hands will come over each other, thumbs in the navel, and rest. And we're still now in a practice. Now we can take that a little further. Drop that tail. Notice the hands, shoulders. So we can stay in a practice like this for some time. There are practices, and I'm just going to show us, of a standing meditation where what we would do is bring our arms out. Let's bring our arms out in front of us. And the hands will reflect back to the body. And relax the shoulders, drop the tail. And staying still. Now this can be done for 30 seconds. This can be done for a minute. You don't have to do it at all, or for 5 minutes. And we're now going to actually continue with this, but we're not going to stay static. What we're going to do is bring our hands near each other and see if there's some sort of resonance, like a tuning fork, like some sort of it can be a magnetic feeling, it can be a feeling of pressure, a feeling of heat, or you may feel nothing. I'm kind of leading the witness here, but most people will go, oh my God, there's like really something going on here. And this would be a manifestation of what is called qi. It's one of the very, very first manifestations that people can get, is this sensation that there's something there, like I call it fluffy magnets. You know, fluffy magnets. And we're going to use this as an elixir field. What we're going to do is open our hands up. Open side to side, open side to side. And as if there is a bowl here that we can bathe ourselves with. We're going to bathe ourselves with this elixir. And notice what it feels like. So in the recovery paradigm, the first step is that we admitted that we were like at our wits' end, we were not working it well, we were, it doesn't have to be crashing from alcohol or drugs, although it can be. It can be that we're just not handling life as the way that we want it, and we're powerless to change. And that can be a good place when we connect it together. When we finally say, I give up, because that then cascades into what is called the second step. And here we're bathing ourselves with this. And the second step is coming to believe that there are other powers that can restore us to sanity. And I'm here to tell you that the paradigm of Yin and Yang is a very, very useful tool. We don't have to be Taoist. We don't have to be Chinese. This is a very, very useful tool to use to restore us to balance. So we're going to do this now 3 more times quietly, and notice what it feels like to you. That's 2. And this is the 3rd one. So just on a very, base general level, okay, did we feel something? And A, was it good? Or B was, boy, I really didn't like that sensation. That wasn't comfortable to me. Most people will say, that felt really good. So what we're doing in terms of Western, medicinal, Western, and I'm not an expert here, but I will tell you that we are getting ourselves out of the sympathetic portion of the autonomic nervous system, engaging the parasympathetic. We are starting to let cortisol abate and let the dopamine fade away, and we're starting to increase what we would call neurotransmitters like serotonin, oxytocin, GABA. And these neurotransmitters are actually made consciously, through conscious effort, not that we can consciously increase them, but through certain types of activities, they can be proponed and advanced. And they are inextricably tied up with the white blood cells. And they go into the bloodstream and into the tissues of our body via the lymphatic system, via the blood circulation system. So it doesn't happen right away. It takes several minutes for it to happen. But when we do this over and over again, it can be a very enduring, and this is a way to get ourselves out of a state of alarm. And right now, I think all of us can use getting out of a state of alarm, because all we got to do is open up and look at the computer. All we got to do is pick up the phone, right? And it's like instant, bam. So for me, this is a very, very important medicinal practice. So stay comfortable. I know we're standing here for a long time. One of the benefits of doing Qigong for a long time is that the legs get strong, so I can stand for hours. And I apologize, and if people get tired, move around, sit, do whatever it is that is comfortable for you. We're going to do a Tai Chi move. And the Tai Chi move that we're going to do, some of us have done it before, some of us maybe have never done it. And it's called 2 different names. One is harmonizing Yin and Yang, and the other one is called parting the wild horse's mane. Isn't that a cool name? Parting the wild horse's mane. So I'm going to give you some general pointers here before we even begin. because we're going to be moving from side to side. When we move from side to side in Tai Chi, the entire body moves as if one unit. You know, the leg bone's connected to the hip bone, to the backbone, to the neck bone. So when the body turns, okay, when the arms turn, the whole body is going to turn at the same time. For example, if I say, well, we're going to do harmonizing, and we go like this, okay, the move goes like this. It's not principally with the arms. So what we're going to do is that the foot pushes off, the weight goes onto the other side, and we turn the whole body. Okay? Now I'm going to just show you a little trick. Keep your arms on either side of the body, and notice how far apart they are. Okay? They're like shoulder width apart, right? Now, keep them right where they are, frozen right where they are, and turn the body all the way to the side. And notice, are the arms closer together, side to side? Okay? I'm leading the witness again, but just notice I'm going to do this again, and you can watch. So when we turn, see the arms are like, with me, let's say 2 feet apart. When I turn all the way, the arms are much closer together. Maybe they're 1 foot apart, right? Then when we open back up, they're 2 foot apart. So when we're bringing our arms together in Tai Chi, by virtue of turning the body, a lot of the work is actually done by the turning of the hips and the turning of the body. So I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, but we're going to do this move, which is parting the wild horse's mane. So we're going to open up, okay, side to side, and a little bit of a hollow type feeling. Hollow type feeling. So you know, we had this push and we had the pull, okay? Now we're going to have hollow, okay? So you got to push, you got to pull, but in the middle you have a hollow, right? As if something can happen there. And are you seeing this as the right or the left? What are you saying? Oh, I'm sorry, you're muted. Okay, well, we're gonna turn with my right and turn the whole body, and the hand dips down, and when it gets to like a comfortable bottom, it's going to turn over and face the other hand. So we have a ball here, okay? Right? And now we're going to turn the body, and as we turn, the arms are going to open up. Look at that. And then we're going to, this other hand is now going to dip down under the other one, and we have a ball on the other side. So we lead on the bottom hand with the elbow. The bottom hand leads with the elbow. Oh, excuse me, the bottom becomes the top becomes the bottom, so it's like kind of a Mobius strip. But as we turn to our right, we're leading with our right elbow, and then the left hand follows. As we turn to our left, we are leading with our left elbow, palm facing up, and we're going to now come back to the middle. Okay, do it one more time. And as if we're going to do it again, we start, but we're going to come back to a very safe, easy resting place, hands crossing in front. So wherever you are, if you went past it, fine. Then there we go. Okay. So we're going to now do this again, okay? Just relax a minute. Relax the feet, relax the arms. And getting this right is not important. Not right now. Okay? This is just not important. What's important is getting the body used to doing turning, noticing the sensations, that if we're getting a little of that sensation of chi in our hands, Okay? See what happens when we bring our hands back together. So we're going to do it again. We're going to open, and then hands are going to dip down, body turning. And then they're lined up with each other. So we do move them a little bit, and then turn the body, they open up again automatically, and then as we get to the other side, they're closing up again. And rather than getting it right and judging ourselves, what I want you to notice is there some state of fluidity that we can come to? Notice in the body, is there a center point around which we turn? Parting the wild horse's mane. Imagine just how beautiful it would be if we were calm, grounded, centered enough, in our own place, relaxed enough to be able to approach a wild horse and part its mane. Isn't that just like an incredible image? This kaleidoscopic, magical, mythical horse that we could approach and part its mane, and we would not scare it off. And then, by the way, who is that wild horse anyway? Well, isn't it me? Aren't I the wild horse? Wouldn't I like to be able to get close enough and grounded enough and centered enough that I could get to know myself? Be comfortable enough, as they say, in my own skin. So a little bit of multitasking, dropping the tail, head rising, palms open, rounded elbows, turning. And see, is there, relaxing, as we say, the spaces between the fingers, beyond the fingers, noticing what is it like when the hands come near each other. Is there some sensation of chi, some sensation of energy? One of the things that we do in the 12 steps of recovery is that we really observe ourselves very, very radically. It is a methodology that we learn to quiet that wild horse on an emotional, mental level. But very often, the agitation and the anxiety is still there, and the Qigong works marvelously. Coming to believe that powers greater than ourselves that exist in the universe, the relationship between in and out, high pressure and low pressure, stuck and moving, hot and cold, remembering that that exists is a very, very healing process. Because very often, I think I'm stuck. Forgetting to breathe. Forgetting and knowing that the way that I feel at any given moment is not the sum total of what exists in the universe. Getting to know ourselves. Becoming our own friend. And parting our wild mane means really understanding ourselves, getting to understand ourselves, living with ourselves, learning, forgiving, noticing. And that is on a somatic, intellectual, and spiritual level simultaneously. So this is, as I said, a Tai Chi move, but we are doing it in a Qigong manner. We might say, well, what's the difference? And Tai Chi is a linear assembly of movements that are done in a string. Qigong is playing with that energy for health and wellness. And recovering the way is a unification of Western, Eastern, and the 12-step paradigm. So let's do this now 3 more times, and we're going to move on 3 more times each side. So the hand is kind of facing the body a little bit. It's kind of half facing, half not, kind of an offering. And I'm not sure if that was 2 or 3. When it comes to Qigong, math doesn't really work. So we're going to make this the last one. And then hands will come back to this neutral central position. Some people call it return to mountain. And we're going to open up and we're going to do a move which we've done before of gathering heaven and earth. And here we bend down and gather from earth. And then from heaven. So that's another one of those combinations of opposites. In Taoism, earth is not only nutrition, blood, the solid elements, but it is also what we call the receptive. It is that which fosters growth, like an oven or a womb. It is that which allows things to appear. What would I like to appear? What would I like to manifest? And bring that in and notice. And then to Yang, not just energy, but ideation, influence. The energetic, the void, the cosmic. So the combination of the real, the substantial, the reportable, the world that we know, the everyday world that we live in, and then that world which is the world of the energetic, the non-visible, the spiritual, the empty. And again, the most important thing for us is the observer. That it is the observer that manifests all of it. Who is noticing? Can you notice the noticer? So we can use this movement to put together with a mantra of any type we like. And there's one in 12-step recovery, which is called a third step prayer, and I'm going to share it with you. It's a beautiful little prayer. And it says, God, or whatever higher power, I offer myself to thee to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self so that I might better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. May I do thy will always. So feel free to use this practice to combine it with an intentional prayer, an intentional saying of help. So both Qigong and, let's let our hands come down now. Qigong relies, as I've said before, on a high degree of subjectivity. A very high degree of subjectivity. However, that degree of subjectivity is combined with an acute and careful knowledge of the outside world. So it's noticing those combinations of opposites with a high degree on the subjectivity. And this is actually what is done in the process of recovery, is that we notice how we interact with other people with a very, very high degree of subjectivity of noticing of what is going on inside. And when we combine that with a little bit of knowledge of what goes on with the body and nutrition and the peptides, like we're banging. So we got a few minutes left. I'm gonna release us from silence, and I'm gonna release us from standing, and we can pull up a chair if you like. Let's say more. Okay, so whoever wants to can unmute. And yeah, so we're trying to grow this. So recommend. And I'm going to open it up to the floor a little bit.
Jan, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes. So you're joining this lovely group, but we have really pulled into it because it's my cousin Colette with the red turtleneck who invited me to begin with.
Thank you, Colette.
And then my daughter Erica, who has the coral on, joined us.
Wonderful.
And now you're joining us. And Jan and I are both in mid-Michigan. And
Okay.
Erica is at the top of Michigan on Lake Superior, and Colette is there in New York with you.
Wonderful.
Colette is my cousin, my baby cousin.
Okay.
So,
Well,
we are just loving this community here.
thank you. Thank you very much.
Whoops.
And
Oh.
yeah,
Oh, no. Yeah.
was someone going to say something? Okay. So I'm going to give just a little reading from one of the books I've written, which I haven't really put into formal publication yet. Okay. Hunting for a bird with a jewel-tipped arrow. Lakes make no effort to reflect the images overhead, yet wind and rain make it impossible. Similarly, humans need not to try to reflect their divine nature, but must quiet the wind and rain of body, mind, and spirit to permit that reflection to manifest. In Chinese medicine, the influence of externals are also called winds. And to the extent that they affect our lives negatively, they are called pathogens. Our modern lives are now influenced by the wind of the web, and our search for health and happiness focused only on externals is like looking for a fugitive with a drum. There is a parable about hunting for a bird with a jewel-tipped arrow. We fritter away our most profound resources looking for less than we already have. Science, medicine, philosophy, and spirituality are in the process of undergoing a complete transmutation. They are acknowledging that they require each other in synchrony and harmony for wellness to truly manifest. Qigong can bring about monumental changes in our lives. Recovering the Way draws on all of these disciplines in a seamless, integrated whole. The proof is there, clinically, classically, and experientially. So we all got a little laboratory going on here, and there is actually, when we talk about a laboratory, there's a term called alchemy. And alchemy is where we take something of worth less, and we transmute it into worth more. Okay? And this is what we would call internal alchemy. And internal alchemy is a very old term in Taoism. Qigong and the higher levels of Qigong are very much about character rearrangement. And that's where the 12-step portion of this also comes. That the alchemy is learning to be not only comfortable with ourselves, but of benefit to others. And I am on the path, as everyone here is on the path. These practices are not made for people who are normally very well balanced, normally completely calm. They would just like say, let's just go bowling, you know? What do we need this for? But this is, this is for the 99% of us. And gosh, I want to thank you. I'm going to be, my factory is actually going to be closed next Thursday, Friday. So I'm thinking of maybe having a New Year's Eve Recovering the Way session. If anyone might be interested in having one, maybe New Year's Eve, one New Year's Day, and then on Sunday. So anyone that wants to can say, yeah, that sounds like a good idea, or no,
Yeah.
okay? And, we can you know what I would love for you to do? I keep forgetting to do this. Please send me an email so I can communicate with you through email, okay? And then we can have a little bit more of a group, because I do send out emails every week. Colette knows that I've been sending out things for years, and actually a lot of what is written in this book has come from emails that have gone out over the last 6-7 years. So it's very simple, dan@recoveringtheway.com. Okay? So if you send me an email, then we can solidify a time and date for a couple of sessions. And if there are other people that you feel might be interested, I keep saying we've only scratched the surface, and we really have. There's so much more there. I have a couple of books here that I use as props, but I do use them. And this one I don't use that much. I read it a long time ago, but so, there's another one that's I don't have right now. It's called Chinese Medical Qigong, which is an official translation from a Chinese medical school treatise on Qigong. This is a tome, okay, This is acupuncture. Very interesting book called The Web That Has No Weaver. Okay, this was written by a fellow, The Web That Has No Weaver, by Ted, and I can put this in an email, Kaptchuk. Ted Kaptchuk. Of course, we got here Alcoholics Anonymous, which is really, it's really a treatise in alchemy, and there's quite a stigma. Of course, the good old Tao Te Ching, which I've got about 6 or 7 different copies of. That's the Chinese medical Qigong. And just one more of my classic favorites. And this is like a 1930s copy of William James, The Varieties of Religious Experience. And I would strongly suggest not reading this book. Okay? But I would suggest picking it up and looking at it. The language is quite arcane. But I'm going to read to you the titles of some of the chapters. Religion and Neurology. Circumscription of the topic. The reality of the unseen. The religion of healthy mindedness. The sick soul. The divided self in the process of unification. Conversion. Conversion meaning change of heart, change of disposition. Saintliness, the value of saintliness. Mysticism, philosophy, other characteristics. So this was actually a scientific book written through a series of lectures around the turn of the 20th century that said, what can cleaving to whatever it is we apprehend as the divine do for us that nothing else can do? What are the fruits of bettering ourselves that can happen by cleaving to that no other discipline can bring? And it's a fascinating idea. And then, of course, this little one that I wrote, The Joy of Not Cooking, which means the joy of not frying ourselves, the joy of not frittering ourselves in the hot pan. And there's, tons more. Colette knows that my partner in a lot of this is Michelle Davidson, who is a doctor of Oriental medicine, I have had probably 600 acupunctures over the last 15 years. I get it every week, so I've been able to actually map internally the points. I have become a chi healer, that I do treatment on people where they would be lying on a table, and I can sense whether the channels are stuck or whether they're moving. And we're actually going to play with a little bit of that, and we are playing with a little bit of that. When we're starting to discover those feelings, I'm going to give us now some tools to actually move some of that stuff through our own mind and body. So stay tuned. There's a lot more. And I look forward to seeing you, let's make a date New Year's Eve and maybe New Year's Day. How does that sound?
Great.
Sound good? Okay, so don't forget, send me an email, Dan@recoveringtheway. And, again, this is like a little session in acupuncture or energy work or energy clearing. So if you have the time to take a nap on this holiday weekend, an hour's nap now would be great. And what I do when I take a nap like this is I actually course through the body and I say, where am I tight? What muscles are tight? How can I improve that? And the only occupational hazard is that we may fall asleep. Okay, but besides that, it's a great thing. So thanks again, and we'll see you soon.